The Wishing House. It was an old, abandoned mansion on the edge of town, known to locals as the Wishing House. Legends whispered that anyone who entered and made a wish would see it come true, at a steep price. Over the years, the stories grew wilder, and fewer dared to enter. The house had a way of taking something valuable from those who sought its gifts, leaving them haunted, broken, or worse. But Eddie wasn't one to be scared off by ghost stories. He was desperate, drowning in debt, and with nowhere to turn. One cold, moonless night, he decided to break in and make a wish of his own. He didn't believe in the supernatural. To him, this was a last-ditch attempt to find luck where there was none. He slipped through a broken window and landed in the dark, musty living room. The air was thick with dust, cobwebs stretched across old furniture, and the faint smell of rot lingered. Eddie flicked on his flashlight, illuminating the decayed grandeur of the house. Ancient paintings lined the walls, their eyes following him as he moved through the room. The silence was unsettling, pressing in from all sides. "Okay," he muttered, half mocking the house. "Grant my wish, Wishing House. Make me rich." The silence deepened, and for a moment, Eddie felt foolish. He turned to leave, but as he did, he heard a faint whisper. "You wish to be rich?" Eddie froze. The voice was soft, smooth, almost serpentine, and it seemed to come from the walls themselves. He scanned the room, his flashlight trembling in his hand, but he was alone. "Yes," he whispered back, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. "I want money, enough to solve my problems." The silence stretched, and then the voice spoke again, its tone cold and calculating. "Wishes come at a price." "I'll pay it," Eddie replied, a bit too quickly. He was tired of waiting, tired of struggling. Whatever the cost, he could handle it. A chill swept through the room, and Eddie felt something press against his mind, a deep, unsettling sensation, as though the house itself was inside him, searching through his thoughts, his memories. "Very well," the voice whispered. And with that, the darkness grew heavier. At first, Eddie felt nothing unusual, just the same cold, still air. He laughed, feeling foolish for falling for the legends, but as he turned to leave, his phone buzzed. He looked down. It was a notification from his bank. His balance had jumped by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Eddie's heart pounded. It was real. Somehow, the house had granted his wish. He laughed, an uneasy, hysterical sound, and ran out of the house, eager to leave the darkness behind. But as he reached the street, his vision blurred, and he stumbled. When he got home, he brushed it off as adrenaline, and his excitement took over. He spent the next few weeks reveling in his new fortune, buying everything he'd ever wanted. But slowly, things began to change. First, he noticed small things: missing keys, strange whispers in the dead of night, shadows that seemed to move on their own. Then, one night, he heard the voice again, soft and cold, echoing through his empty apartment. "Eddie." He froze. He was alone, or so he thought. "Who's there?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "You made a wish," the voice replied, almost mocking. "Now it's time to pay." Eddie felt a chill run down his spine as he realized what the voice meant. In the thrill of wealth, he had forgotten about the price. He hadn't known what it would be, but he was about to find out. The shadows in the room seemed to stretch, creeping toward him. He backed away, heart pounding, but there was no escape. The darkness felt alive, pressing in on him, closing off every exit. And then, he felt it. A presence in his mind, cold and consuming, taking something from him that he couldn't even name. "Stop!" he shouted, clutching his head. But the voice only laughed. "Every wish has a cost, Eddie, and I've come to collect." Days turned into a blur. Eddie no longer felt like himself. His thoughts grew scattered, his memories slipping away. Faces he once knew faded, and even his own reflection became a stranger. He was hollow, haunted by the dark presence that lingered in his mind. In desperation, he returned to the Wishing House. He staggered inside, shouting into the darkness. "Take it back! I don't want it! Take it all back. But the house was silent, watching him with unseen eyes. The price had been paid, and there was no undoing it. His wealth, his wishes, all meaningless now, as the last of his identity slipped away. Eddie collapsed in the middle of the house, a broken shell of the man he once was. The shadows shifted, moving closer, embracing him in the cold darkness. He was home now, one more lost soul bound to the walls of the wishing house, waiting for the next desperate soul to wander in and make a wish.